anyway, I'm so glad you could all be here with me tonight. I would ask that some of you keep your videos on. For the one a couple weeks ago, I ended up talking to myself because everyone put their video to black, and it was kind of for an hour and a half to kind of just be able to see yourself was a little difficult. So those of you that don't mind just every once in a while giving me a nod or something that you're here. I'm just so used to being in front of an actual room of people that this kind of teaching has been a little bizarre. Um, Today, I am going to go rather quickly through this training. I will preface to say community foundations are a lot, and I'm going to throw a lot of information at you in an effort to be able to build your comfort level with just terms, language, and ideas that are kind of the cornerstones of the community foundation. But in no means do we expect you to have this all figured out after tonight. There are a couple pieces that I'll point out that I'll say, this is an important piece, if nothing else. You take this away with you. Otherwise, this is just a really great kind of dive in to the community foundation. And then you may have to review. A lot of times we have board members, like we had a number of board members at the training a couple weeks ago that have been with us for a number of years that have come back to listen to this training again. So because they have a lot more context now. So please feel free to join us in the future and also ask me questions or stop me. I have built some points in this presentation for questions as well, so I will stop and make sure to ask, give you an opportunity to ask questions. I would ask that all of your mics stay muted while we're doing the training, and then just unmute yourself or type in the chat if you have a question, and Angela will be kind of monitoring that for us today. Okay, so I am Katie Kitchen, the Director of Regional Affiliates for the Greater Salina Community Foundation. I have been with the foundation for 7 years and have grown in this position. The current executive director and I used to share this responsibility and kind of split our affiliates up, and over time we've kind of restructured. She's running the place and I am running our affiliate program. Also, the person that you've been in contact quite a bit is Angela Kerner. She's our affiliate operations coordinator and has been with the foundation just a little over a year. So we're really happy to have her with us and helping support all of the details that I am not very good at maintaining. So with that, we'll kind of go forward here. So our agenda today is some major items that we'll cover. Some of this is just details about our organization and the structure of our affiliate program. And then we'll kind of dive into just kind of the mechanics of how foundations work. And then asset development. Most of you are in some level fundraising or trying to build donor awareness about your foundation. So we'll kind of cover what that looks like and the difference between a regular nonprofit and a community foundation in asset development, and then just close with some tools and resources in the end. Okay, so just some big picture items. One, we all share the same mission. The mission is to build permanent endowment funds and meet charitable community needs. So those are our two pillars that we really try to follow and live up to. We do this in a number of ways. I will point out the bullet point second from the bottom that says providing affiliate services to neighboring communities. We were created in 1999 and our first affiliate joined us in 2001. So this program has been part of our organization for almost 20 years, and we see as an integral part to what we do because we believe that we are all stronger together. So by working together to build strong, vibrant communities, then we have an easier time doing that. And also, you know, we're all rising together. So our service area is vast. I oversee everything in purple except for Salina County. So our whole organization, GSCF and our affiliates included, manage over 900 different funds. So those are 900 different little mini missions is what you want to call it, of philanthropy that are happening under our one organization. We have assets in excess of 250 million, and through January 30th, we distributed over $115 million across our whole service area. And some of those grants go across the world as well, but the vast majority, a huge percentage, stay right in Kansas. And we serve 14 regional community foundations. So just sticking with the big picture, community foundations really work in a circular format. So it doesn't necessarily start with gifts. It may start in just marketing and stewardship, especially for, you know, Lisa with Jewel County Community Foundation. They're just starting. And so really for their community, they are very much in just trying to build awareness in their community that they exist. With that, in that effort, they hope to encourage gifts. And those gifts will either go to existing funds or create new funds. For those of you like Roger from Russell's one of our oldest affiliate foundations. Most of the community in Russell is aware of the Russell County Area Community Foundation. And so their foundation already has a lot of funds established. And so they are in the investment, grants, and really stewardship mode. They do a great job marketing too to tell the story about what's happening, but their direction of how they talk in their community is vastly different than what Jewel County does right now. So, but ultimately what you hope is that you get community members jumping onto this wheel somewhere and eventually make it around the circle, so that they see the benefit the community foundation brings and will make a gift, create a legacy with a fund, that we invest that money that makes grants happen, and then we can market the story of those grants in the community, and so on and so forth. So how our organization is really kind of broken up is the Greater Salina Community Foundation's Board of Directors has all legal control, liability, and sets the vision for our whole organization. Our executive director prioritizes and develops strategies, and then our staff is implements, advises, and works with the affiliates to accomplish the vision, but also our affiliate advisory boards determines your local vision for your organization, priorities, and decisions. So in this structure, our board sets the big vision for us as an organization. They're looking at sustainability and also just the vision of the direction the whole organization is going. The affiliates are just one pillar of the many things that the Greater Salina Community Foundation does. And so with that, we rely heavily on your advisory boards to make those local decisions. And we don't want to determine what's best for your community. That should be you. And so that's where that local visioning and priorities happen. And the expectation is that your boards will take ownership in those decisions. And what our staff is here to do is help support those decisions and help you be successful. And our obligation is just making sure that we're following policy and any sort of legal requirements through the IRS or Treasury Department that we have as requirements. So just the affiliates by the numbers, you actually, you know, it depends on the year, it depends on investments, it depends on how many gifts have been made to the affiliates versus GSCF each year. But the affiliates float anywhere from a fifth to a quarter of our assets in any given year. You do represent more of our funds. This says 435, but this is last year's number. I forgot to add all the new funds we created last year. So you're up in the high 400s now. So you represent more than half of our total funds, and 160 board members and 5 staff, 2 of which are volunteer. So almost all the work happening in the region is happening with the support of our staff and lovely volunteers like you who have committed to your community and your local community foundation to do the good work. So in our affiliate model, we provide all legal and policy oversight. So we do receipting, gift receipting for donations, and maintain donor data. We do all accounting investment. We do accreditation process, which is very similar to what a university's accreditation process looks like. But for community foundations, we do an annual audit. That's all part of the service that we provide through the program. We provide staff support for your board and donor meetings. We do advise and coaching support. We have in the last 2 years just really ramped up our marketing and do a lot of marketing support for our affiliates, and I'll kind of get into that in the future. And then you have a grants and scholarship coordinator assigned to your foundation that is your person that handles all competitive grant making and all scholarships each year. So we really try to support all of the heavy lifting of the administration of your foundation so that we can't be in every community and talk to donors and really make those connections. And what we can do in Salina is take the administrative burden off so that frees you up as board members to really go have the time to spend time talking to donors about the foundation. I'm just going to jump right in. We'll have questions in the end, but or a little bit later, but please, I throw a lot at you, so step in if you need it. A couple of years ago, we created a vision for this program in general, and that was created through a group of affiliate members we had from all over the area. Come and meet with us and talk out what does success look like for this program and give us insight on what you think success looks like. We're going to share what we think success is and where can we find a ground together that we can agree that we could all be kind of rowing our boat in the same direction. So that created this affiliate network vision that the affiliates will have a vision for the future. So long-term thinking, growth focused on building endowments, positive impact on the community they serve, recognition and support by the community, and engaged and informed board members. I'm just going to pick out one of these to just talk about briefly. The positive impact on the communities they serve. We didn't define what positive impact is because for each community and each community foundation, that could be vastly different. And we want you to be able to have the flexibility to define what positive impact is for your community, but that you are making strides to have impact on some level. And that goes for each one of these bullet points. Growth focused on building endowments. We have some of our foundations that are really focused on building unrestricted assets. So that big pot of money that can serve any purpose, charitable purpose in your community. That is really what they talk about and what they focus on. We have other foundations that are focused on just matching what the donor wants. And so very donor focused foundation to say, we don't really care what kind of fund you create or what your money supports. As long as you're partnering with the community foundation, we're really happy about that, and let us help you make good things happen. And so those are very two different attitudes, and we need to be able to leave space for both. And so that's why this is pretty broad, but just giving a direction for everyone to be rowing in. So through that vision, we created, for the first time ever, some just minimal requirements to receive service from our organization. And that is in an effort to, we provide a lot of service. And over my 7 years, what I've noticed is I have in the past spent a lot of time helping foundations, affiliates that just struggle to operate, like meet quorums or have someone step up to serve as a chair. We had an organization that went 2 years, or well, not 2 years, maybe 18 months without officers because no one was willing to step up into that leadership role. That makes it really difficult for our office to help that organization, and it ends up being kind of a time suck for us because we're kind of going above and beyond trying to help them just operate. And these requirements and our service plan is in an effort to say your operation of just having a quorum, having meetings, having officers, setting a long-term vision is really your responsibility to get done, and we will help you with everything else. So let me share these. So I'm just going to talk about this top section. So our core requirements are outlined here in the top. It really, I would say just about everyone meets every one of these fairly easily every year. But it helps me have something to go on when we do have issues to tell a group, look, I can outline a couple things here that you're not meeting. How can I help you do that? So that we can kind of get back into a place where we're operating at full capacity. So this isn't something back here in Salina that we go through and check off the list. This is something for you to self-monitor as an organization. But most of these things are pretty straightforward. Maintain a slate of officers. Meet at least 4 times a year with a quorum. Use our online evaluation tools and process for grant making decisions. So it's all things that we all automatically do anyway, and you'll be familiar with as you work with the community foundation, but it's just now kind of in black and white so that there are no more questions of what do we have to do and what do we not. So then what I did, just as a place, because I started getting quite a few questions about, so with the affiliate vision, of having a vision for the future, engaged and informed board members, positive impact in our community. Well, what does that mean? What could we do? And so I just made a list of things under each one of the vision bullet points that just gives you some ideas. None of this is anything that you are required to do, but it doesn't make you have to come up from your brain items. Kind of gives you a point for discussion or a topic to talk about. On this, what I would say is each foundation, you would be doing a really awesome job if you were able to make some progress on 1 or 2 items total on this list for the whole year. So this isn't something where, we need you to check every single box, but it's just giving you a place to come up with ways. It's really easy to kind of get in the habit of same old, and this is just trying to help you kind of push to the next level every year. So when foundations meet their core requirements, we provide services from our foundation. And what I would say is these services are broken down by department. So, you know, this first page here is the affiliate program coordination, and then it's broken down what GSCF does and then what the affiliate does. Because while we do a lot of the heavy lifting, we aren't local. Before COVID, I came out a lot. You could ask Lisa. I tried to come out and visit people and be around, but that has been no more for the last 6 months. You know, but we do try to get out, but at the same time, I don't live and work in your community, so we really rely on you to help make connections at times, whether or not that's sharing a press release in your community or that we've written, we just need you to share it, or that you may help coordinate a location for a donor to meet with me because I'm not sure where the best place to get together with this donor would be that they would feel comfortable. So it's things like that. I'm not, both of these documents are onboardable that you can access under the shared items folder. So I'm not going to go through every little bullet because goodness gracious. But what I will go tell you is we have the affiliate program coordination, we have grants and scholarships, the affiliate finance and administration, and then finally affiliate marketing. And I am going to talk about this one just a little bit because this is new for a lot of our foundations and honestly an amazing benefit that you get through our partnership. What I will say is any regular activity that you have, whether it's grant making, scholarships, maintaining your social media and website, we take care of that for you automatically. Like automatically, our marketing department writes a press release for your organization to advertise you have grant applications available. You have grant money that you could give away. Please apply. We write that up for you. But what we ask is that we write it up. We will post it to your social media. We just would love to have you share it and then send the press release to like your local newspaper or any other community bulletin boards or anything like that that would be good to get that information out. We also write a press release to promote who's been awarded grants. So we write all that up for you. And then all you have to do is once again, share it in your community. We also produce a really nice annual report for your foundation that tells the story about grants that you've awarded, things that have been exciting that have happened this year. Like, you know, for those of you in the Hansen Foundation, we do a whole section about your Hansen Match Month and how successful you were at that. There's information about like donor lists, who's received grants, financials. And so it's really great piece that you can share with donors or in a donor conversation. It's designed in a way too where pages out of it, if you're going to go, like we had one person who took pages from the annual report that had photos and stories about grants that had happened through the community foundation and printed those on large like legal size pages, and she was presenting at a basketball game at halftime. She posted those up behind her table and that people could like just go and look. And so they were just, we designed it in a way that you could not only use it as a book, but you could actually print pages large scale out of it to create posters. So it really, everything we do, we try to make it multifunctional because we are a small staff. So anything we do, we try to think of how else could this be used so that it serves multiple purposes. The thing that is different for marketing versus any other department, while they do a lot of things for special events and campaigns, if you decide to do your own kind of special event or special mailing or something like that, those are by request. And we do have request forms on your website under board member links, and I'll kind of show you where that is here in a little bit. But what we ask is that we get a lot of notice, like at least 30 days notice, and that you kind of thought out the details. And our marketing department's happy to help you think those out. But then you submit a request to them, because they do have a lot of things. Every time we do anything, we always say we have to do it 15 times because we have 14 affiliates plus GSCF. So we just want to give you every opportunity to be successful through our marketing department, and just ask that they are given the opportunity to help with that by having a lot of notice. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna close those. Once again, let me go back to my PowerPoint. Does anybody have any questions? I think I'll pause there because I've talked a lot about any of that information so far. No, silence. Okay, I'm gonna keep on trucking. What we did as first priorities when we did the affiliate vision and items is we went out and did a listening tour with a huge, well, every single foundation attended or had representatives there. And we asked them, that group that had helped create the vision for our network said, okay, this is the vision, and now here are like 12 objectives that they saw as important. Well, 12 is a lot, and I couldn't take on 12 all by myself at that time. So what I asked all of you or your predecessors to do was say, what in this list of 12 do you see as a first priority? And they identified local visioning support, sustainability, and marketing and storytelling. So that's why we really ramped up our marketing support and do a heck of a lot more today than we did 2 years ago. We also went through a huge, I went through a huge training and planning to create a visioning process. So now with, your foundation being required to have a visioning process, we actually will help you do that. You don't have to hire someone in or do that. Our staff can come in and help you create that vision. This year, we're really working on sustainability, partly because we can't come out and meet with you or it's a lot harder. And so we felt like, well, this is a perfect opportunity to do some sustainability and efficiency items to try to help make us operate the best we can, so we have more capacity to do more things for you. So we are also developing some educational and networking opportunities. I am feeling torn between, well, let's just jump in with that and we'll just do it digitally, or should we wait and hopefully in another 6 months that we could maybe do some in-person things. So to be continued on that. And then the other pieces, we really ramped up marketing, but now we would like to really focus on the storytelling part of helping train you to be good storytellers, or remembering that is an important part of people understanding who the Community Foundation is and what they do. So I asked for questions a minute ago when I was struggling to share my screen. So I'm just going to keep going, assuming nobody has questions. Okay, so now we're kind of going to get into the nuts and bolts of the Community Foundation. So we accept gifts of all sorts. The most common thing is cash, like people just giving us a check or physical cash. That's the most common way that we get gifts. We have and do get gifts in every one of these other categories. I will say Post Rock Community Foundation and Republic County Community Foundation have been really amazing about grain and livestock gifts. And those are actually really simple to do. The thing to keep in mind, I'm not an attorney, so I can't advise a donor of what is better for their taxes or what, I'm not a CPA either, so I can't tell them, is this something that would be good for them to do? But in most cases, what I will say, in most cases, it is more tax and advantageous for a donor to give something other than cash if they have that ability. It is usually better for them. So whether it's just, you know, a gift of grain, what it does is you don't write off what the grain was worth, but it lowers your taxable income because you're not claiming the grain as an income, and we get to sell it and we don't pay income tax. So it is 100% of the value of that grain minus whatever the co-op has charged goes to good. So just something to keep in mind, and we're happy to help or find an attorney or CPA if needed, if the questions are too complicated. So how an endowment works, we are made up of 900 funds. Those are almost all endowments, which means the fund is kept forever to private earnings. So all of those funds were established by the generosity of donors. Like, none of what we do, we've done. It's all been from people being generous to an idea or something that they love and want to see continue in their community. So that donor, there's a very loud airplane outside. That donor can make a gift to an already existing fund or create a new fund. Then what we do is manage that gift, and hopefully that the fund grows over time and produces investment income. The principal is always protected, and just a percentage of the investment earnings is paid out each year. Okay, just a percentage of it. This is just a diagram. I like visuals, so I always put visuals in of just what it could look like. If someone gives in the first year a $10,000 gift, after 15 years, the cumulative grants that this fund has made is $10,000, but the fund's value is $15,500. Now, this is assuming an 8.5% rate of return with a 5% annual payout and a 1% fee, which our fee is 1%. Our payout's 4.5%, but the 8.5% is a little high. But I found this data through another community foundation who had set up the huge formula to get it to work, and that formula scares me, so I've just stuck with this. But you get the idea of what it is, the intent of an endowment is. Partly why you want the endowed fund to grow over time is because part of our responsibility as an endowment manager is to protect the principal of a fund, its cash value, but also its spending value. So what $10,000 buys today is a very different amount of things it can buy in 25 years. And our requirement is that we don't let inflation or cost of living degrade the value of an endowment. And so that's why we need the endowment balance to grow over time, so that the grant that comes from that fund grows over time and hopefully counters any inflation and things like that. So just to get a little deeper, so we pool all of those 900 funds together into one big investment pool. We use Vanguard index funds to invest, and our investment strategy is 75% in equity and 25% in debt or cash. If you want more details, we have like a 15-page investment policy that I'm happy to send to you, or is onboardable. If you'd like to read all, like what mix of small cap, large cap, international, those kinds of things, but I just know enough to be dangerous on that level and have to always go back to the policy to look at the specifics. We charge an administrative fee that's assessed annually. Like Susan was working on that this week on our funds. On the vast majority of funds, it's 1%. Scholarships charge a 1.5%, and one or two of our affiliates have elected to charge their own administrative fee to have some extra income. So your fees may vary just slightly from foundation to foundation. I'm happy to talk with you one-on-one specifically about that if that question arises. And then our spending policy is 4.5% based on a 16-quarter rolling average. The rolling average is a requirement from the Treasury Department that we have at least a minimum of 3-year rolling average. But the intent is that it levelizes the grant or the spending amount each year, so that in good years and in bad, that there's still a grant. There are some of organizations across our area that have a significant endowment in our organization. And if one year they got $20,000 from that endowment and then the next year was $5,000, that would be, their success would be a heck of a lot harder because they can't rely on a constant, which is what an endowment's intended to do. And so by levelizing it with an averaging in good years and bad, that our charities can count that they will have a grant to help sustain their operations. Okay, funds. I'm not going to go into huge detail about this, but what I would say is we have different fund types that are like products, because each donor has a different vision of what they want their philanthropy to look like. And so because of that, we kind of have to have different buckets that they can use or products. So what a fund type does, it defines the purpose, the means that we're going to use to distribute those grants, and the level the donor is involved. So those are kind of the 3 pillars. I don't ever lead a donor conversation with, well, I think you should open a field of interest fund. Well, because no donor knows what that is. But I am listening to those 3 points and asking lots of questions, like what is their dreams, or what is the purpose that they're trying to accomplish? How do they envision grants coming out of it? And how involved does the donor want to be in the philanthropy that's happening? And then that's when I say, this is what I'm hearing from you. Is that accurate? And if so, then I think this process or this fund that we have works and meets what you're needing. So it's listening first to what they're wanting and then finding the bucket it fits into. We don't ever lead with the bucket. So our funds are really divided, most of them, into 2 categories: competitive and donor directed. So in the competitive, that's anything that the donor wasn't completely clear on. I want it to go to the art center, or I want it to go to the local school. They said, I just really like the arts, so I want grants to go to arts organizations in my community. So in that case, we create a fund that's called a Field of Interest Fund, and we make a call out annually to the community to say, if you have a project that's supporting the arts in Russell County, apply, and we will consider your request to support the arts. It also can support a town. Washington County has a couple, Hanover and Clifton, each have their own town funds that support any charitable project in that town. And so it's something like that. Also the unrestricted fund, which is, in Russell, it's the Fund for a Better Russell. In Jewel County, it's the Jewel County Community Fund. Everyone kind of has a different name for theirs, but ultimately it is your most powerful weapon to do good in your community, because it can go to anything, including your own operations. If you needed it, you can make a grant to yourself from this fund. So it really is a great tool for you as the community foundation to answer current and future needs of your community. On the donor directed, in that case, the donors have said, I want to be involved. I want to have a say in what charities get the money and how much those charities get of my money. And so they are much more involved, and we are really just the conduit for that to happen. On a designated fund, like, I mean, that one, donor sets charities up, and it's with percentages that each one of those charities get of their spendable from their fund, and that's it. It doesn't change unless somehow a charity closes their doors. In that, you know, we have some designated funds that support one charity, and we have one designated fund that supports 18 different charities, and everywhere in between. So donor advised are really the donor making decisions every year of where they want their money to go. So nothing's set in stone on that. Then we just have some other ones. Organization funds are established actually by the charity themselves, and are really popular for smaller organizations. You know, universities have their own, you know, foundations, but most other charities don't have the capacity to manage an endowment. So they partner with the community foundation for our service, because we are an endowment manager, and they use us to do that. Scholarship funds are exactly what they sound like. We do have provisional funds that are actually not endowed, the only one, and it is for kind of big capital projects, and it may be just a group of volunteers in your community that wants to do a good thing and need a charitable entity to help give tax deductions and manage the gifts. And then you each have administrative funds that pay for the extras above that you want to do in your community that is outside what we take care of as your partner. Okay, I'm running out of time. Board of directors versus advisory board. I just felt like this was important to kind of talk about, and through, we've had some confusion over the last few years, and so we just wanted to kind of make it really clear. Greater Salina Community Foundation's board is the board of directors, and they are the legal governing body that are legally responsible for any decisions that are made across our entire region. So they reflect the composition and diversity of our community. You as the advisory board do not have formal legal responsibility, but really you're convened by us for, and we say advice and support. You really are making those local grant and scholarship decisions. You're the one talking to donors and creating a vision for your local foundation in your community. And then we have grants committees. Some of your foundations, your advisory board, the whole board serves as your grants committee, while others elect to have just a smaller representation of their board on there. The biggest thing about making grant decisions is our whole role is to follow the donor's intent. And so there are times that our staff will say, well, I'm not sure this matches the grant criteria. Well, or they'll say it doesn't match it. And that's because our role is to say, look at what the donor intended the money to be used for, and making sure that we are aligning with that. And we will put that question back onto your boards a lot of times. For anyone that's ever sat through, Lisa's sat through 1 million grants committee meetings and has heard us say that about something that maybe not qualifying for a grant from, you know, a certain fund that you have. So so what we ask is that you have a duty of care, loyalty, and obedience to the community foundation, that when you're in a board meeting for the community foundation, that you are caring about the community foundation first and making decisions that are good for the foundation while you're in a meeting, and that you're not serving dual purposes. That also goes into conflict of interest and confidentiality. We are a public charity, but our meetings are private. Like, we don't have to follow Open Records Act because we're not government. And so with that, our meetings are confidential. Your minutes are confidential. You are not to disclose information that has been discussed in a board meeting unless the board itself has elected to share that information to the community. And this is an important piece to pay attention to because living in smaller communities like we do, word gets out and word travels fast. And so it's important to maintain that confidentiality, to not have the community foundation misrepresented in some way. That also goes along with conflict of interest. Our grants coordinators really follow this very strictly because we are in the belief that perception is reality. And if in your community people feel like, you know, so-and-so charity is getting a leg up because John Doe is on the board and making decisions about that grant, that actually will hurt your foundation in the long run. And, you know, so we ask you to be aware of potential conflicts of interest, make it known, and to abstain. And our kind of rule of thumb is, when in doubt, abstain. We would rather have you be more careful than not careful enough. Okay? Any questions about all of that? Sorry, talking at you for an hour. Holy moly.
Katie, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to tell those, if you've never sat on a grant committee, it is the most fun ever to give away other people's money. I sit on a lot of boards and a lot of different committees, and I told the guys the other day, even if I served my term on the foundation board, I would still like to be part of the committee that awards the grants if it comes to that. It's the most fun ever.
It is a great time, and I will thank you so much. I will say that is usually, when you ask people what their favorite thing is, that's usually at the top. If it's not the top one, it's usually number 2. So it's good. Any other questions or comments?
I might just share a funny story. In the early years when I served on the foundation board, there were 3 of us on the scholarship committee, and we all had to abstain because we all knew all of the applicants for the scholarships.
We've run into some close calls with some of our grants before. We ask that we just have at least 3 in the room, and that sometimes has been a little bit tricky, just because, you know, when you're involved in one thing, you're usually involved in 10 others in your community, and it's really hard not to have a conflict. You know, because you know the people, your relative is on the board. You know, we just run into a lot. So I completely understand, Roger, that probably was the case, and we still deal with that today. So, okay, with no other comments, I'm going to move on. So on asset development, like I said, I was trying to think of everybody here. Everyone on this call is actually in a Hanson region. And so with that, you have an annual fundraiser every year with the Hanson Match Months. You have really morphed. You know, Roger kind of was aware of the community foundations in the past. You have really morphed into an entity that's having a lot of impact and trying to raise funds because of the great opportunity the Hanson Foundation provides through their annual match month. One of the things that I hear a lot when I attend meetings or people are planning for their match month or other fundraiser, the first thing they say is, let's start listing out our businesses in our community to go ask for money. Well, actually, most gifts don't happen from businesses or corporations. It's actually a very small percentage of total giving across the nation. And I will say this holds true even in our match months. in most cases, it is the individuals who are giving. It wasn't a big company. In the smaller communities, the check may have come from the company, but you talked to the local owner and they just made it from their business account. It wasn't because of anything. And the corporations, like some of the seed companies or other large companies in your region, are such a very small percentage of the gifts that are being given. And so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about going out and talking to people about making a gift. It ultimately are individuals who are, and families who are making those decisions and really having the most giving. Okay, so we are going, you're not going to have to listen to me the whole time, because I'm going to have you, or I'm going to share another training. For those of you in the Hanson region, you have access to these trainings for free. This is just one of them. This is called CF Express. And they're really great little videos of different topics about a community foundation, and range from like 5 minutes. I think the longest one is maybe 15 minutes. Great videos, and you as an individual can sign up and become community foundation certified. If you want to do an individual certification, you can go through this program. So I think maybe, let me share again, because I think I forgot to hit to share my sound. Yeah. So this one's just 5 minutes, and we're going to talk, it talks about asset development.
You know, most people, I think, shy away from trying to be able to talk to people about the community foundation because they think they need to know everything about what the foundation is, how it operates. You can say that about board members or staff members both. And the simple truth is you don't have to know how everything works. A good response is always, let me find the answer to that and get back to you. People use a lot of different phrases to describe what a community foundation is. They might say it's a collection of funds, or we help donors accomplish their charitable goals. But in the end, the foundation offers donors just a variety of options, and it really is about being able to connect the potential donors interested into what the foundation, how the foundation might be able to help them. As a matter of fact, the first time you're meeting with a donor, they don't really care about how everything works. They don't care about the names of funds. They care about what they're interested in, and that's what you really need to be able to find out from them. You need to be able to find out what motivates them, what are the things that they want to see happen in the community, what would they like to see change, and how the foundation might be able to connect that. One of the things we often hear as we're working with community foundations is we're the best kept secret. The fact of the matter is, this isn't an easy thing to explain to somebody, even if you know it very well. And to be able to explain it to them, you have to know what they're interested in. It has to become real to them, because it isn't like another nonprofit that might be obvious to them what the organization does. It doesn't necessarily sell itself that way. You don't have to know the details, but you have to know that there's a way that the foundation might be able to help them. The thing about community foundations is, at their core, they are in the business of relationships. And nobody's going to give $1 million to you because you've got a pretty brochure. They're going to give $1 million to you because they trust the organization, they trust what you do, they trust you as a board member or as a staff member, and they trust you're going to do the right thing with their money if it's given to the foundation. And so building on those relationships, building outward from the board and from the staff, is really a critical component of what board members have to do with the community foundation. The other thing I frequently hear from board members is, I was at a party and my friend, this guy I thought should know what the community foundation is, didn't know what it was. They always complain about that and say, we ought to buy more advertising. And my question is always, what did you tell them when they said they didn't know what it was? What did you tell them about the foundation? That is your job. And no matter how much money the foundation spends on marketing or advertising, it comes back to being able to explain to somebody what this thing is based on their own experience. And I think it is overwhelming sometimes for people to, we talk about all these different kinds of funds, all the different ways to give, and I think it can be overwhelming to think about that. But if you get back to what is this person really interested in and what motivates them, it can really help. And the other part about this is it's not like a cold call. You're probably going to know some of this. And I had a colleague years ago who said the best asset development plan is a blank sheet of paper with a name on top of it, and write down everything you think you know about them. And this is all from readily identifiable sources. What do you know about their age? What have they been involved with? Have they been on boards? What boards have they been involved with? It's figuring out who the right person is to make contact with them and have that conversation. And again, get to what their motivations are. That's what you're really trying to do, is figuring out a way to tie them to the work of the foundation so that sometime in the future you can follow up on that conversation and continue to build that relationship. When you're thinking about having a meeting with somebody, use what you know. Use what you know that you've developed as part of that blank sheet. If you know that Bob has been involved with the food bank, you can say, I know that, Bob, you've been involved with the food bank for a number of years. Why? What is it about that organization that really appeals to you? What would you like to see them do in the future? And is there something you're thinking about doing with them? And maybe we can help with that. Or maybe there's something else that might spark a conversation about some other thing that they're interested in that is even more important to them in the community. And so the third thing you need to be able to do and you know about the Community Foundation is you need to speak passionately about why you are involved. Is there a grant, a gift, a fund, a story you can tell to the person about why this thing matters? If you haven't thought yourself about how you're going to give to the foundation, it may be hard to think through what that might be for somebody else, what the opportunities might be. And you begin to understand how other people might think about it. You're not asking for a gift. You're really providing them with an opportunity about how they might be able to benefit the community at some point during their lifetime or even after their lifetime, about what their legacy might be. And the foundation's the best place to be able to do that.
Question.
Okay, so he just does a really great job in sharing about what the foundation's purpose is, or what your purpose can be in the foundation. And as you noticed, he didn't talk once about the details of what kind of fund or what should they do. It's very much about getting to know the person and to help connect the person into long-term thinking about the organizations or the causes they really care about. A lot of people make decisions to do things now, and a lot of others can't do something now, but can at the end of their life. And so leaving that legacy, like he said, to the Community Foundation to support one or more causes that they think is important. What I use an example for people, is if I have learned that they attend their local Methodist church, and I'll say, through your tithing that you give to your church, when you're gone, the church actually loses their ability to do some of the work that they do now, because they have been reliant on that income from you. And by creating an endowment for them at the end of your life will continue an amazing missions that they do in the community and beyond. And that's not just for a church, but that can happen for any charitable organization within your community. But a church kind of gives context for people who are regular attenders and tend to make, monthly, annual gifts to their local church. So what I would say is, minus the Hanson Match Month, we are really working the long game, persistently planting seeds for the future. I mean, I've met with a donor in the past who just wanted to learn more about the foundation and said he was already working with his attorney, and his attorney encouraged him to reach out to me. And we had a conversation, and that donor is very private person, was very hesitant to share much with me, but wanted to learn more about just what we did and why we do it. And I shared that information, and I'm not sure what will ever happen with that, whether or not. He said he was working on his estate plan, And so there may be a gift in the future for that foundation. There may not, but you know, I look at this job, if you're into immediate gratification, this job is not, or, you know, this work in the community foundation is really not for you, because it really is just persistently planting seeds, building relationships, making sure that people are aware the community foundation can help them meet some of their charitable goals for the charities they love or the communities they love, and that we're here to help them do that. I went to one of the trainings, Nancy Jackson, I've heard her talk before, and Hanson's offering some of those trainings again. But I heard her say something, and it stuck with me, and I've started practicing it in my own life, that when people ask me what I do, I, you know, say the community foundation is where I work. And, but what her advice was, is if you're a board member of something, to say, when someone asks you what you do, don't talk about your job, but say, hey, well, you know what I do? I'm a board member at my local community foundation, and this is something exciting we just did. We just, you know, as Lisa said, we just gave $100,000 away, and one of these projects that supported our local food bank was amazing. And I mean, to me, that is something that lasts with the person you're talking to, and they have a real example of what the community foundation does and is. And you haven't had to ask for a dime. You haven't had to know a lot of details. You've just gotten to talk about something really exciting that excites you about the community foundation. So most other nonprofits must convince a donor to give to a specific cause, annual appeals, lots of events, small numerous gifts. You know, we're really on the long game. We are really focused on large gifts and estate gifts mainly. You know, with the Hanson match funds, that's kind of the one anomaly, but for the most part, that is our focus. And it's really about that long-term stewardship of your community and donors. Steve in that video talked about, you know, being comfortable sharing your why, or sharing why you think what the Community Foundation does is important. And I'm going to share a video of Simon Sinek. Some of you have probably seen this. We'll just watch the first few minutes of it. But one of your most important jobs is just to be the advocate for the Community Foundation. And the easiest way for you to connect to people is be able to talk about your why and your passion about the Community Foundation and why you think the work is important. So we are, let's see. This is being silly. So we'll watch this short video about talking about your why.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition, and yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery, and this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, There's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe.
Okay, so that is a perfect segue into the next part of this. So that is the whole point of that he says a lot better than I do in this, but really it's connecting to that why for those donors or your community members, to be able to have them feel motivated to continue either learning more about the foundation or actually taking action to donate or create a fund. With that, these are just questions. Now, if we had been live, and we did this last year actually, and it was really fun, but we can't do this through Zoom. So these are just questions to prompt you, and we'll send this out to you, this presentation, and we have a recording of this as well, so you could watch this again. But this is just a way for you to think about what is your why? What are things that make you feel passionate about your community or wanting to give back to your community? I will share mine just to give you an example when people ask me why I do what I do. And it's, I have a couple, but one, my main thing is that I am one of the last of my generation of my family to live in this area. And I think this is an amazing place to grow up and live and raise a family. And I want to build and am passionate about this community to a point that I want my son to think it's as cool as I do and want to live here someday and make the choice to be here as well. And I feel like the work that I do through the Community Foundation is making this place better, and also continuing the good work that's already happening, so that hopefully my son Jaden will eventually want to be here. So that's mine. But so what is yours? And so we could have a whole conversation about our kids from that point, you know, not knowing each other. And I'm not the only one in that circumstance. And most of the time when I meet with donors or board members in the region, up until recently, both my siblings are gone, and I'm the only one that was left here. And my sister has chosen to relocate here, which is unreal, and we never expected to happen. But most families are in that similar situation, that people aren't here anymore. And so, let's take care of this place that we love, we raised our kids in, and leave it better for the next generation. So anyway, I would encourage you to think this out and write out a little statement about what it is, because then it's really easy in conversation for this to come up just very naturally. Otherwise, we just have some tools. All of you should be on Boardable now, and there's trainings on that or information. Foundant is our company that runs our database, our grant and scholarship software. You will learn more about GLM and SLM, which are the grant and scholarship softwares, if you serve on those committees. And there's lots of trainings, and our grants coordinators will help you a lot. Your websites are a great resource as well. And there is one thing, and I meant to have one up and I forgot, let's see. So on your website of any of your foundations, they're set up the same way. In the bottom right corner is a board members link section that has links to Boardable, to your grant review login, scholarship login, and that marketing request form. Also has lots of data in here, or not data, information and resources for marketing. So it has a worksheet if you're thinking out a project. This is a place that you can find that. Also, we have ready-made marketing materials that are in here, and you can see samples and order from us, or order the art and you can use a local print house. So there's lots of great resources there as well. So I would encourage you, when in doubt, your website has most of your materials, and then otherwise it is Boardable has all of kind of board governance and history and policies there. Other than that, the Kansas Association of Community Foundations has great resources. There's a campaign called Keep 5 in Kansas, encouraging people through their estate plans to just leave 5% to their local community foundation to support whatever charitable things they want to do. But if everybody left 5%, there would literally be hundreds of millions of dollars to support local philanthropy. Dane Hansen Foundation also has just in this last year initiated a Northwest Kansas Gives program. It's really trying to build on the Keep 5 in Kansas program and really encourage estate planning. They also offer free estate planning through that program, that you can have a whole plan developed by an attorney who kind of helps you think out the whole plan, and then you take that plan to your local attorney to draft up all the documents and those kind of things. Then there's the link to the CF Express training. Otherwise, just the main thing to take away is your job is to connect with people on a personal level and inspire them to learn more about the Community Foundation. If nothing else, if this is something that you can accomplish during your time at the Community Foundation, then you have done so much work and good for your community in just accomplishing this one thing of building awareness, because it's those little seeds that eventually take root and grow into bigger ideas, gifts, or estate plans. So that is all I have. Thank you. And I am here to answer any questions that you have. You're probably sick of hearing me talk, but if you have any questions, I'm here to help. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So.
Thank you, Katie. I always enjoy you, even if you think we're tired of talking or hearing you talk.
Yeah, I get sick of hearing myself talk. So thanks, Lisa. Does anybody have any questions at all? No? Good. Okay. Well, hopefully sometime soon I can meet all of you in person. I am a resource when and if you have donor conversations or conversations with an organization. You know, I tell people all the time, I'm here, you know, and Angela is here to make you look good. So as Steve Alley said in that video, it's okay to say, I'm not sure, but I can get that answer. Call me up. I'll give the answer, and then you can go look really smart. So, you know, that is really our role. We are as involved or uninvolved as you need us to be, or would like us to be. So, you know, I have donor meetings now. Some have been in person and some have not, and I'm flexible to either thing. So either way, so please just really see us as a resource, and thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.